So what council decided today, they didn't quite make a final decision for 2019, which I had hoped they would have done. We've narrowed it down to two options for 2019. Option one is the one that I proposed, which reduces non-residential taxes by about 2% and increases residential taxes by a blended 3.45%, which is what we agreed to in the fall, using some predicted provincial tax room to reduce that non-residential thing. Council decided not to decide on 2020, 21, and 22 yet. Just because of the volatility in the market right now, they didn't feel it made sense to set indicative rates on that yet. We will certainly come back to that conversation at the Priorities and Finance Committee over the next couple of months. The other option that is alive for 2019 is a higher increase to residential taxes and a commensurately lower non-residential tax in 2019. The difference between the two options really happens in the future years. They both end up in the same place by 2021. The question is, how quickly do you want to move? If you move more quickly, it means that residential taxes increase by more, but that means that you need to rebate them or just let the residences live with a higher increase. If you move a bit more slowly, then the increases are more moderated to the residences and stay within the range of what was in our budget in any case. So the other important thing that Council did today is they agreed in principle to what I'm calling for now the Small Business Sustainment Grant. And that will be a grant application-based grant program that businesses that are having a lot of trouble can apply to for a cash grant, money in their pockets to help their business stay vibrant, to market themselves, to get more business, and so on. So we don't know what the details of that are yet, but we'll sort that out on May the 14th. The other thing that Council agreed to today is to explore the creation of a new assessment class for small businesses. We've never been allowed to do this before. Big business and small business had to pay the same amount. We now have the legislative ability to charge small businesses less. So we're going to look at that for a 2020 or 2021 implementation. If we can figure out a way to do that, that makes sense. At the very, very, very end, Council did something a bit odd, which is they then added a conversation about whether to use some money to do a rebate for residences. The problem is that's the same money that would be used to create the grant program that they had already approved. Don't ask me to explain that. I don't get it. But presumably that'll be another fun conversation at Council.
This is very complicated.
It is?
Yes.
Really?
So for
would you like a simple version?
For homeowners, I'm looking at an increase no matter which scenario is accepted. Do I get assistance?
You were normally looking at what would end up being about a $120 increase next year, $10 a month, split evenly between the city's portion and the province's portion. So what you're looking at is the same thing, about $120 a year, about $10 a month. The only difference is, because of the way we calculate tax room, it's all on the city side of the ledger, not on the province's side. But to a homeowner who's paying their bill in June, it'll be the same.
How do you think businesses are going to react to what you've got to offer here today?
Certainly it goes in the direction that we have been asked to go in. Certainly it has efficiencies in the city budget in it. And it moves us to that more equitable ratio over the course of, depending on what Council decides, 2 or 3 years. And that really is what businesses are asking. But I got to say that, as I've said many times, there's two problems here. The first is this structural problem, and that's helpful. You know, give businesses a few $1,000s in their pockets. But for an individual business that's seen a 2 or 3 times increase in their taxes, it's not going to make the difference for them. So that grant program, should Council move forward with it again on May the 14th, is where the money will actually end up in their pockets. And I think people will be very pleased with that.
Is it an oversimplification to say that the benefit of having the grant program as opposed to the rebates for everybody is that those who need the help the most would get it?
That's certainly the plan. The devil, as always, is in the details. So we'd have to figure out the right criteria that makes sense. But my point is, I've got $35 million a year. And can we use that $35 million a year to funnel larger grants to people who really need them, rather than spread it across many, many people? That's my goal.
How do you prevent the $35 million simply propping up businesses which would go out of business anyways, versus trying to use the money to protect them against what you think to be unusual or extreme property tax increases?
That is a very, very astute question. The challenge is that under the law, we have to charge everyone the same taxes. And so the challenge we've always had is how do we take money that is seen as a tax rebate and give it only to some people and not to everyone? And the reason for moving to an application-based grant program is that it's not about a tax rebate. It's about a different set of criteria that can help businesses go. And as always, the devil's in the details. And, you know, if we are sustaining a business through a downturn so that they can be successful again, I don't know that that's a bad thing.
And Councillor Woolley said that this idea of a grant program was looked at a couple of years ago. It was deemed to be too complicated versus the rebate. What's changed?
A couple of things have changed. One is there is a little bit more legislative room to be able to move on stuff like this. And the other is really about the city and council's risk tolerance. And the third is how much money we have available. Bluntly, you know, when we were looking at this program back in 2015, we were looking at a 10 to 15 million program. And it would have taken $45 million to cover everybody. So at some point, council said, rather than set up this administrative structure for a grant, let's just cover everybody with the phase tax program and put the 45 million in. We don't have that kind of money anymore, and certainly 45 million would not go as far this year as it went in 2016.
So why not make a decision today? Why leave two scenarios in motion for a week?
So the kind answer is that there was one scenario where the numbers were not apples to apples, and council wanted to make sure they had apples to apples numbers before they made a final decision. The slightly less kind answer is, look, this is a tough decision, and we've kicked it from meeting to meeting to meeting already. Hey, what's one more week?
500,000 tax bills.
Well, they all got to get out next week anyway, so next week there will be no more dawdling. We will have to make the 2019 decision. I would have preferred if we had made it today.
And what do you expect the reaction is going to be from the business community, from the Chamber of Commerce, from the CFI?
Didn't you just ask me that question?
Well, I guess what I'm really getting at here is they're going to look at this as picking winners and losers rather than actually providing broad-based tax relief, which is what they've been after. So,
Okay, so to be clear, they're getting the broad-based tax relief. They've got it. It is in there. They should be happy. If they're not happy, well, then they need to go talk to their members and explain why they're not happy about broad-based tax relief. This is in addition to that. And it really is for those businesses that are really hurting. Because even under the most aggressive scenario, you know, and I'm sure Councillor Woolley talked to you about his scenario, it would have saved maybe $1,000 to $2,000 more than what we're getting now for everybody. $1,000 doesn't allow you to hire a new employee. It doesn't keep you in business if you're really on the verge. And I would much rather be a little bit more gentle in the broad-based tax relief to free up some capacity to help those businesses that are really hurting.
I'm still not sure I'm clear in terms of the tax burden shift. Let's just keep it on the non-residential side. How, if I'm outside the core, how am I feeling about the bill that's coming toward me? I know there's a grant program coming.
So you're getting a 2% decrease. It's not nothing.
But that's overall, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the tax shift
Yeah.
for those business property
Well,
owners outside
remember
the
that 2% is also, because it's, okay, this is going to get weird. Because it's a negative number, it's also differentially applied to the higher tax bills because it's a percentage. So if your tax bill was really high and you're getting minus 2%, you're actually getting a lot more cash than someone who has a small tax bill and they're getting minus 2%. So the differential works both ways. That said, you know, the real issue here is we're not going to solve this with the tax rate. I have to remind people that our tax rate is still one of the lowest in the country. And when people talk about the ratio, as I said this morning, easy for me to get to an Edmonton ratio by raising everyone's taxes. That's not the goal here, right? The goal is really to look at the absolute amount that you have to pay. So that's going to go down a couple percent. But what we really need to look at here now is what can we do for those businesses that are really hurting. So the reason the council asked to have that brought back the next week is because those numbers were not clear. And it wasn't in any way clear to me that that was actually the number, that $500. So it's a matter of actually calculating that out. But my sense is that because my plan gets you to 50-50 in 2023, which is about a $200 increase over 4 years for your average home, I can't imagine how that would be $500 in 1 year to get you to the same point where 200 in 4 years gets you. That's why we need to do the math.